I don't really have much interest in parties' communications.
Yeah.
But every time that I'm exposed to it, it just feels so silly. Like the LP is especially a clown show. And I wish that it weren't.
I recently came under the discovery that the LP is like a Silicon Valley company. They have this sum of money, and by golly, they're going to spend it trying to grow this operation.
Mm-hmm.
And they are doing it from the top down. So you have all these people that just want to get these positions of power that mean nothing. Instead of growing an organization from the ground up, like how I've built my companies, you can't just start a movement from the top and be like, I don't know why people aren't following along. We've been at this for 50 years, the LP. For 50 years, how have you not been able to sell freedom? Freedom sells itself. As soon as people are given this notion, they're like, wow, I love freedom. How can you mess up freedom?
Right. Well, and it goes to, the slightly cheesy tagline of this podcast is, conversations about how we understand, secure, and exercise freedom. I think this speaks to the securing them, and where I think that the LP has, again, in my limited exposure, has failed, is that it makes sense for a party to be concerned with its own growth, right? In the same way that it makes sense for any business to be concerned with its own growth. But for some reason that I'm not engulfed in it enough to understand, the LP hasn't really grasped what you seem to, and I don't really have strong feelings about whether you should or shouldn't have left the LP. I could see why people would think when people get it, they should stick around. But
I have no aspirations to ever grow the LP, because the problem is that doesn't change anything.
Well, what I was driving at though was that what it doesn't seem to have understood is that the way you grow the LP is by selling people on ideas and getting them wins. But the LP's message and the message of many LP campaigns at different levels seems from in my experience to have been to sell people on the idea of growing the LP. But if you're a voter, you don't give a shit about the LP's the voter access goals. You want to know what the LP is doing for you. Exactly. And then that will get you to vote LP more often.
And then the more people vote for you, the bigger your pool of growth. Exactly my point. You want to start from the smallest and build your way up. So how I would envision that here in Miami, I hope people see that I'm running for this seat, that I share their values, that I'm willing to put in the work to get these things done, and that I'm not going to go and accept, these big checks from people that expect me to then fulfill the unofficial promise of when they give it to you. So if you see that and you're like, oh, I can get behind this, well then come join the Liberty Movement, which is basically this idea that I want to keep fostering. I can do it without being part of the Libertarian Party, because I don't agree with that message, and I was part of it for 4 years. And I realized, why don't people that come to these meetings want to do the things that I think would grow the party? Because they're not focused on that.
But your disagreement is more of a tactical one than a philosophical one.
Right. I'm through and through a libertarian in terms of what I believe. You can look up their platform, and it's, equality. Again, the individual is the smallest minority. We shouldn't have these laws based on, if you're Hispanic or if you're this, or everybody should be equal. And the reason we came to this point is because over the years, we've created these groups. So now you need to undo those groups by creating new laws. Let's just take it all the way back. Every man and woman and everyone was created equal. Everyone should have, our banking laws are if you're so-and-so, you don't get access to this. Why?
Right.
I mean, those are the type of things that I think libertarians believe in. But then when we talk about it, we turn into oh my God, you're not libertarian enough because you don't believe what I believe. Oh my God. So I think that general idea that we are, all equal and the law should apply equally, whether you're a police officer or the citizen, law should apply equally. It doesn't matter that you're special and that somebody elected you to an office as a politician. If you're, doing this bad thing, you too should face the consequences. Yeah. I think these are simple concepts. Yeah. And yet in this country, we don't tend to have that. We have special categories of people. We see it all the time. drugs, particularly it's a subject that I love to talk about. We have Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son. He's a known addict. Mm-hmm. He's never spent a day in jail for his addiction. But I know plenty of people who've gone to jail for simple things. We don't have equality. How is it possible that this isn't the conversation that we're having? That we're like, well, no, that person needs to be prosecuted. Like, why? Why is the government even involved in what substances we put in our body? We need to take it back to like, why do we even have these laws?